Good morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m., April 15th. Welcome to my channel. Started a little early today. I got to take my daughter to the bus. So, wow, yesterday surprised me a little bit. Had a trend day going, then moved sideways for probably like a couple, let me see, like 2.5 hours or so. And then that was the pullback to buy into the close. Okay. Now, technology wasn't even the leader yesterday. Semis actually were getting sold. But then Nvidia decided to break out over a big positive gamma level of 195. So we'll see. Now, this morning, Trump's talking about opening the Strait of Hormuz. China agreed not to sell weapons to Iran. Market juiced up on that and then since had a wick. So who knows? ES right now currently at the most traded price of this year, around 7,010. Okay. There was one thing I forgot to put in my charts yesterday that might have made my I forgot to put it on my, so it might have made my scenario maybe a little different. But the Nasdaq futures has had poor structure, a ton of it above itself, and I even reminded myself that the other day and forgot to put the bearish FVGs on my chart because that would have probably influenced me a little bit. Um, that just started cleaning up that structure. Now the ES ran into heavy supply and it didn't move as great. Okay. Now today we're battling low volume again. So let's see here. Let's go over the volume real quick here. So you can see. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All right. So we just had a see. I have this. I think to every 15 minutes gives me the relative volume. So it looks like we had a spike in volume off that news. See, there's a little spike. 65% of normal volume pre-market. This goes off right off the typical pre-market. So 65 in the Nasdaq, 64%. That is low volume. Okay. One other thing I can show you guys. I have a seasonality script that I run, but then I saved this particular one. Let me show you guys this. And what I have here saved is the seasonality of the SPY. Okay. And this gray bars in the background shows the typical volume for each month over the last 10 years. Look at March. By far the highest volume of any month over the last 10 years. And then it drops off in April. Look at that drop off. And then it drops off in May. And then it drops off in June and it just gets lower. Right? That's typically what happens. So, not exactly surprising. Okay? Not exactly surprising. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and find profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, which you get on my Discord. Okay, supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, the previous day. This is where I come up with my game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my bread and butter, my market internals, the anchor VWAPs, the little ICT. Okay, my weekly expected move indicator that you also get for free on my Discord. Anchor VWAPs as well. Okay, now hopefully you join me every morning. To do this every morning, subscribe, set that alert. This is where I give you the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, technical analysis in the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures. Okay, now if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. And in a little bit, I'll show you how many stocks are over their expected moves. This happened last week. All three SPY, QQQ, and SPX all breached their weekly expected moves on Thursday and Friday pre-market. That's why I had a short on Friday. Not the only reason. This is starting to happen again. Okay. Remember, 70% of the time, the market closes with inside those ranges that I give out in my weekly expected move indicator. 70% of the time. That's a huge edge. Okay. Now, let's get into the futures watch list. Crude is up 1%, $92 a barrel. Ethereum up 0.84. Markets is getting some selling right now. I don't know why. 10-year yield up 0.26. Dollars up 0.13. ES flat. Dow flat. Nasdaq basically flat. 30-year bonds sold slightly down 0.14. Russell down 0.18. Bitcoin down 0.26. Gold down 0.38. VIX down over a half percent. 18.26 VIX. Silver, the laggard, down 0.73. Very muted this morning. It's because we literally have traded sideways all night. Okay. Moving on, Max Evans. Broadcom's teaming up with Meta. Getting a lot of love there, up 2.37%. Microsoft up 0.78. Tesla's up 0.59. Coinbase up 0.45. Lagging, Nvidia down 0.33. AMD down 0.95. Now, Nvidia has a monster gamma level at 195. So, we'll see if it can smash above that or not. AMD down 1%. Almost 1%. All right, moving on. Top sectors. Oracle continues its run, up 1.38%, followed by Uber up 0.84, Salesforce up 0.69, Palantir up 0.68. Lagging, the mining stock, NEM down 0.71. Down 0.71. Sectors. Excel financials up 0.15. Now remember, some financials reported this morning. Look at technology is down 0.04. It's flat. Right? Semis are down 0.44, even though ASML reported earnings this morning, and I believe they were pretty good. Okay? Now, semis have been on a tear, specifically AMD. Okay. I think we're ready to go into economic calendar for today. Okay, 30-year mortgage went down from the previous 6.42%. We have Fed Bar speaking at 8:30. We have NHAB housing market index at 10 a.m. Usually does not move markets. 10:30 have EIA crude inventories. Fed Bowman speaking at 1:45. Trump schedule. Check it out. Looks like Caroline Leavitt at 1 p.m. will have a press briefing. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully I'm done. Let's see if there's any stock roundup news. They haven't been doing this lately. No. Like I said, financial Jews. Look, Trump on Iran. China agreed to not send weapons to Iran. Trump on Iran. China is very happy that in permanently opening Strait of Hormuz. Trump, China is very happy that in permanently opening. Same thing. Same line. Same line. Okay. Let's get to some news. U.S. shuts down Iran's maritime trade despite optimism for more talks. Bank of America profit rises as trading investment banking shine. Netflix to refocus on ads content after failed Warner Brothers bid. Meta extends custom chips deal with Broadcom. Already said that. Snap to lay off 1,000 employees after activist investor pressure. Let's see. U.S. stock index futures inched lower as investors caught their breath after a rally while awaiting fresh signals from a raft of corporate earnings and remarks from Federal Reserve Board Governor Michael Barr and Fed Vice Chair Michelle Bowman. Oil prices gained as shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remained constrained, outweighing expectations of renewed U.S.-Iran talks. Let's see if there's anything in here that I didn't talk about. Nope. All right, moving on. Let's going to look at those market internals. Yesterday I did have a short. I was doing this live. I had a long day. I usually don't trade all the way from the open to the close, but I saw an opportunity, waited for it. Was up like a little over 1 hour, and it was just, to me, it was a free trade. I went to break even and I got nipped. Okay, let's go over market internals now. Pretty strong, trending up all day. Not a surprise that the market just trended up, and then it kind of like pulled back. That was the pullback to buy. I was waiting to buy it with a deeper pullback. I did see a setup here, but I wasn't in love with it. But it wound up being the pullback to buy. All right, I did get short very close to the close. I saw what I wanted, got in, like I said, and got a break-even trade. Okay, notice technology was not the leader. Discretionary communications were strong yesterday. Okay, even the overall market was not that strong. Look at the ADD, the advanced decline. S&P 500 was only a plus 76. That is not pretty much a very strong reading. Okay, Nasdaq exchange was stronger with a 3-to-1 ratio of volume going into up stocks versus down stocks. So that had some volume in it. Now remember, we gapped up as well, so that inflates the number as well. When you don't gap up and that number's high, that's a very good indication. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to the dailies. Now you're gonna see my weekly expected move in that green bar. Okay, that is at 696.53. We are approaching that. All-time highs, folks, is 697.84. It's unbelievable that we just priced in this war. Okay, and heading towards the the expected move to the upside. So where are we now? 694.40. We're right at yesterday's highs. We were gapping up earlier. So we're very close to that expected move to the upside. Okay, we did break last month's highs. So we're in new monthly ranges right now. Unbelievable. This market's just unbelievable. That's why I'm saying yesterday, a short is so hard to do in this market. I mean, very hard to do because the market finds any excuse to go up. Now look, the RSI, not that I look at this religiously, is getting towards overbought, which makes sense, right? Let's look at futures. So futures, you have a doji candle right now. That's indecisive. Okay, we are at the most traded price of this year. You can see right here, if you look to the left, a lot of volume. Remember, it's over this year, just this year. Okay, we got over the most traded price of the rolling year, 69.33 yesterday. That was support right here. Okay, so unbelievable, unbelievable run. I mean, look at these overall sessions. You have not had a negative day. That's crazy for like the over. This is real. This is like almost a 24-hour bar. You have not had. You have never closed below your open once. That's freaking nuts. Okay. Qs. Qs almost hit the expected move to the upside yesterday. Right? Qs are 637.01. They have a little farther way to go to the all-time highs. Okay? You are approaching February's monthly highs at 630. Now remember, these lines aren't magic. You could go over them, but then close back inside them. Okay? Where are we now? 627.80 towards the highs of yesterday. Very balanced profile overnight as well. Okay, we'll get into all that in a little bit. Futures. Another kind of doji candle. Okay. We got through all of that volume. All of that volume. So it's free and clear. I mean, there is more volume up here, but like that got through that big volume. Now, this is a huge trading range. Okay. So now we swept yesterday's highs and we're back inside. Like I said, I thought yesterday we could go up higher a little bit, and I thought we'd move sideways to down. I still hold that, but like I said, you cannot discount momentum, and that's what's happening. Remember, I said that. I said I don't. The probabilities probably is a sideways to a little pullback to maybe a pullback to a little higher day. Instead, you had more of a big day, right? I still hold to that. Okay, probabilities don't always work out. All right, let's get to the breath real quick. So, percentage of stocks over the 50-day moving average is at 50%, 51% to be exact. That is very middling. Okay, that's the S&P 500 50-day moving average. So it's very middling. Okay. Now we're going to move over to the hourly charts now. Not much to talk about there, just key levels. And here's your hourlies. Let me get my little marker out. You can see we've just traded sideways all night. Okay. This green box signifies the most traded price of this year, which is 7,010. Now we went up into it at the end of the session yesterday, see, and then we could not resolve it. It's a big level. It's not meant to get broken very easily. Okay? And we're in supply. So when the market went into the supply zones yesterday, I was like, I don't know how much upside this has, right? Not really sure because there's a lot of overhead supply. So now we're ranging. Actually at the most traded price yesterday. Right here. So it's pretty ugly. And like I said, I still hold to it. Can the momentum continue up? Sure. Do I like it to go just crazy long? Not really. Okay. So 7,010. Okay, and then you have some poor structure below. Right here, we stopped dead in the tracks in the beginning of the session at last month's high, 69.61s. And then it was just boom, trend day. Crazy. Crazy. Okay? That's ES. NASDAQ has little bit of a different story here. Okay? So, I forgot to chart this yesterday. And probably would have changed my NASDAQ approach a little bit. But, let's get into it. So, NASDAQ's also ranging. Right? But this is a bearish FEG all the way up into this supply zone. So yesterday when I was live, I was mentioning this, that I forgot about it. So once it went into this poor structure, as long as the market's strong, it should just keep going. It's not going to have much resistance. And look, it's almost went right up to the supply here. And there's also a composite high volume node right here at around 26085s. So I put this box on my chart to let me know that that's a heavily traded area from the past. So there's supply there, and there's a composite high volume node from the past there, which is just a lot of volume. So that's why I have it on my charts. That should act as a wall. Okay? So, what did we do yesterday? Pulled back into this demand a little bit. not off the open. Let me see here in the Nasdaq. Yeah, the Nasdaq's open was an open drive. Both markets opened and drove higher. Since this is an hourly chart, right? The market opens at 9:30, so the hourly it can't show the open here because it's not. These are not half-hour candles. If I showed you half-hour candles, you would just see a. Let's just for. I mean, let's just put it on there just to show you. Half-hour will show the open drive. Okay, there it is. So at the open right there, no wick. It just open drive, opened and boom. Okay, let's go back to the hourly. It's so annoying, that error. I don't know how to get rid of that, but all right. So had a trend day, right? Even though tech was relatively weak early. So ranged. So I already gave you the 260, I think 8 zeros. Let's just make sure. 26080. Yep. That's a high composite high volume node. Okay. And we're ranging. Now I think you have to look at a little below the 259s here. Then you have poor structure, right? So if there's any kind of news and negative, we could probably try to take that back. Bulls have the momentum now. So again, this day, like I said, positive gamma with the light volume, with the VIX down to 18. You're not going to get the whippy moves as much. Okay, and yesterday was the first day that I recall that news didn't take down or juice the markets at all. Nothing came out that was like, whoa, what was that? Which happened pretty much every day, right? I think it was the first day that I can remember that there was nothing that news moved the markets. Okay? All right. Moving on to the market profile and volume profile. Oh, by the way, Hood, good old Hood that I bought, I think a couple weeks ago now, maybe. Just to let everybody know, I don't know if everybody's aware that, well, Hood is up over 7%. Yesterday I had a big day. But reason why Hood, I'm obviously excited about that. One, because I'm an owner of it, but the pattern day trader rule has been gone by the SEC. So you no longer have to have $25,000 balance to be a pattern day trader. That was always a pain in the butt where people didn't have $25,000 and you only could trade, I think, 5 times a week. If you didn't have that balance, that's gone. So that's big. So that's why Robinhood is up even more, because that means more people can trade stocks and day trade. I think they said they're going to use margin rules or something like that. So that's pretty big, because that was always something for stock day trading that people couldn't do, and that's why people went to futures. But now that's gone. I don't know if that's going to change anything. It might. Okay. Let me go to the market profile, volume profile. And we'll see. We're literally at yesterday's highs. Would have, you can't get any more perfect of this profile. So here's your market profile, volume profile. I mean, we were going to be gapping up again, so that would have been 3 days in a row where Sunday into Monday we were gapping down. The next day we were gapping up, right? And then we were gapping up yesterday. So we have unfilled gaps here and below us. Right now we're almost gapping up, but we're right at yesterday's high. So right now we're not technically gapping up. Okay. So let's get into the ES long and short trade scenarios. That's the session from the overnight. That green box is your most traded price of this year. I talked about it, the 7,010. Okay. This is very balanced profile on the overnight. There's not really much to that. We are in supply, and it's a major one. And then there's another one here. Let's see, did that get broken? No. It's a pretty big one. Heavy supply overhead, okay? Is this the day that we pull back a little bit? I have no clue. I have no clue. I do know there's heavy supply, and this came into the supply yesterday, and look, it still hasn't been able to go higher. Okay? So, what am I going to look at? Well, I'm going to mark off a couple levels here. The 50% retracement yesterday is 69.73. Okay? You have a bunch of thin volume below that. Okay? So, bulls have momentum. Do I think we go much higher today? Based on technicals, not really. But that doesn't mean anything. All right? That's only my probabilities that I got to lean on, right? So, we're going to start off with the long. Okay. Price is in no man's land right now. Yes, it's right now. It's at the most traded price of yesterday, the most traded price of the overnight. So it's hitting the most traded price of this year. It's a lot of traffic. Okay, so what do I want to see? I would love to see this market take out the overnight low, and there is a bullish FVG right here at 69.89s. You have another one at 69.70s. That lines up with the 50% retracement. Okay, so that's what we're going to play off of to see if we can get some kind of long. So any pullback into this area with support, high or low, right? I'm going to go target overnight highs, the 7,018s and maybe the 7,020s, which is a resistance level at the end of a supply zone. Okay. Now, I would even be open to a little bit of a deeper pullback into 69.73, the 50% retracement of yesterday. And again, a bullish FEG. If you get support in that, that is bullish. High or low, you target 7,020. I think if I don't get those, I'm not very interested in a long below that area. Okay? Now, what if I break those overnight highs? I'm still not interested in something up here. It's too much heavy supply. Okay? Too much heavy supply. Shorties. Okay? If I'm going to play a short, it's going to look like this. I want that market to get bought, take out the overnight highs, whoop, maybe even break this supply and dip into this supply, whip back, lower high, high short, targeting overnight lows, 69.91s. Now I know I have poor structure below me. If this market finally starts to turn a little bit into profit taking, boy, these can get ripped apart. And you could find ourselves at yesterday's lows, 69.37. That has to have the market get weak, though. Okay? That's the only thing I'm interested in. Now, well, one conservative short would be this. If you rip under the overnight lows, get support in the bullish FEG, and retest yesterday's most traded price around 7,003, which happens to be the close as well, that, if the market is weak, that could be the retest short. Okay? And you could target 69.73. And if the market gets weak, you could possibly go down to that 69.37, yesterday's lows. But the number one I talked about is my favorite. Okay? And shorts are hard to come by right now in this market. Shorts are very, 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 very hard to come by. Just give me 1 second, folks. All right. That is yes. Let's move on to NASDAQ. Alrighty. Let's get right into it now. The NASDAQ long and short trade scenarios. Let's break out the session. Very squat profile in the overnight, very balanced. Okay. Now, mark off some levels. We are going to mark off the 50% retracement of yesterday, 25830s. Lines up right with the bullish fair value gap that starts at 25873s. Okay, 2578. What did I say? 25873s. Now, remember, there's a high volume composite high volume node from the past at 26080s right here with heavy supply above. Okay, with heavy supply above. I don't like a long up in there that much. Okay, so we have this marked here. So 50% retracement in the bullish FEG and the 26080s, which is a composite high volume node from the past. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. So if I want to go long, you have a demand zone here that starts at it's in it. It's not in it right now. I just popped in it. 25964s. 25964s. Okay. So let's get into the longs. So what would I like to see? Well, lovely pullback. Breaking the overnight lows, 25934s. Into demand, right? Now you're at the 25920s about. That is yesterday's most traded price. Now, if you drop a little lower, that's fine. But if you retake that most traded price of the previous day and hold it, you go long. Targeting an overnight high is 26058s, and then you're in supply in that big level I talked about earlier. Okay, that would be just a nice trade. Now, if you get a deeper pullback, what do you have here? That bullish FEG, like I talked about, and the 50% retracement of yesterday, the 25830s. If you get support in here, that is bullish. Push up, higher low, ride that puppy up, overnight highs, 26058s, and then you go for that composite high volume node, the 26080s. That's all I'm interested in for right now for a pre-market scenario. Okay. Shorties. So if I'm looking at a short, pretty much know probably what I'm going to say. I would love for this overnight high to be taken out, 26058s. Come into that composite high volume node from the past, 26080s. Remember, nothing's perfect. Let's say it comes into the supply and rejects. You retest the 26080s. You short there. You target overnight lows, 25934s. If that gets taken out, you do have a supply. However, if the market starts to get weak, you are then going to target the 25830s. That's the midpoint of yesterday. Now, below this, and the market starts cooking, you could find yourself at yesterday's lows, the 25655s. Then there's an unfilled gap. Do I know if we fill that? I don't know. There's a lot of demand here. I don't think that rips through that. Who knows what can happen? I just really like that short if the internals line up and everything else. Now, In the NASDAQ, I am not really crazy about really anything else as a short. Because if the market comes down here, right, am I going to want to short in demand? What's my risk to reward here? It's not great. Even if we come down here, I'm still thinking of a short and we land into this bullish FEG. I know if we get support with this momentum of the bulls, am I going to want to short here? Probability, probably not. So that's why I like this is the only short. Okay? That is my scenarios for today, folks. Please smash the like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That would help me out a lot. Okay? A lot. Now, my overall market take. Let me give that first. So, ES at the most traded price of this year. Heavy supply overhead. Okay? Remember, I showed you SPY and QQQ pretty much hit their expected moves to the upside, which means there's limited upside. 70% of the time, remember, close inside the expected ranges. The NASDAQ has a composite high volume node at 26080. That's a large trading volume from the past and overhead supply. I'm going to say it again. Probability says to me, I don't think we go much higher. Okay? And I'm not saying I'm an all-out bear today. I'm just talking about what's technically in the way. Okay? So what I would say is this. I still welcome longs and shorts. I'm still a cautious short. Okay? But if the internals tell me, text the laggard today, this doesn't look very strong, we are going to get a pullback one day. Does it today? I don't know. Okay? I don't know. So that's my outlook. Okay? Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Okay? Let me give you the market story, the economic calendar, leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ futures. Okay? Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord as Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, I should be going live today around 9:50 a.m. Please come join me. Ask questions. Okay, ask some questions. Now, that is it for me today, folks. Okay, now we have our plan. Remember, no trade is a trade. Hope everybody has a good day. And if I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take it easy.